Noob School. All right, welcome back to the Noob School. This is podcast 135, we think. 135. So we should be getting pretty good at this. I've got a good friend of mine going back, how long, Drew?
Probably 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, at least 15. At least 15. 15 years. Drew Parker. Drew started and runs the Parker Group, which is one of the best real estate development groups in Greenville, at least in Greenville. I don't know, are you outside of Greenville?
I'll take Greenville.
Greenville, okay. Taking Greenville.
We do stuff a little outside of Greenville, but
Yeah, but Drew, is another good example, I think, of someone who knew something about real estate from growing up around a family that was doing development and doing things. And then when you got into real estate yourself, it's just been a steady glide path forward. I'm sure there's been some jags along the way. But I mean, you found something you liked, you knew something about, and you're just working it, right?
that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, almost ever since college. But anyway, we'll get back to that. So what we typically do is back up to the beginning, try to figure you out a little bit, like where you're from and things like that, and figure out how you got to this point and how sales played a part in it. So where did you grow up?
Kind of split earlier in my childhood. I'm from St. Simons Island, Georgia.
Yeah.
So that's in the southeast corner of Georgia, between Savannah and Jacksonville.
Okay.
That's where my family's been for many generations. And when I was 2, my parents had the idea that they wanted to own a tennis club.
Yeah.
They were set on finding one. They looked in Texas, they looked all over the South, and settled on Brevard, North Carolina.
Okay.
So we moved up to Brevard. At the time, it was 5,000 residents in a sleepy mountain town.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine a better upbringing than being there for my formative years until high school, when we moved back to St. Simons to be closer to some aging grandmothers and be close to family again.
Yeah. So you grew up not only in Brevard, but in a tennis club.
In a tennis club. we literally lived and breathed it. If I wasn't at school, I was at the tennis club.
Right.
Right. And that's naturally where my friends started coming. So we had a very wholesome place, I guess, to be able to hang out, and we just could do whatever. If we weren't on the court, we were out doing odd jobs for my dad, or making forts in the woods, doing what kids do. Yeah.
Well, Brevard's a wonderful, wonderful place. So you went back to high school at St. Simons, and then obviously played on the tennis team.
Finished high school in St. Simons, and then went to Furman.
Yeah.
Under Coach Paul Scarpa, played tennis there.
How did you pick Furman?
Coach is a good salesman. We're talking about sales.
He's good.
if anyone's met Paul Scarpa, they know that he's pretty convincing. So I looked at several other schools, and I just kept coming back to Furman. They play an amazing schedule. I wanted to come in. I had some criteria. I wanted to play in the lineup as a freshman. I wanted to play SEC and ACC competition. Furman definitely fit that bill. There was also the brand new tennis center that was my freshman year, was the first year they used it.
The Mickelson Center?
Mickle Tennis Center, so 4 indoor courts, beautiful new locker rooms. So at the time, it was when we had SEC and ACC teams coming to Furman, they were wowed by our facility.
Right.
So it was a nice place to start.
Do you remember what Coach Scarpa said? Anything specifically he said to draw you there?
He said a lot. It was more of a feel. His style of coaching is old school, which resonated with me.
Yeah.
But it's also, he cared, and he cared about your development on the court and off the court, and you just sense that.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the coaches that recruited me at the time I didn't get that feeling.
Right.
It was a transaction.
Right.
And with Coach, it felt more like family.
Yeah. He certainly proved that over a long period of time.
He did, and I think if you talk to any ex-player from Furman, we're still it's a close-knit group of guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And did he invent a lot of things too, like tennis things?
He did. He invented the most common clay court line tape that you will see on any clay court today.
Yeah.
The herringbone pattern. He invented that.
Yeah.
The way that NCAA tennis is played today, he invented that format where we play doubles first.
Okay. So
doubles,
the singles matters more now.
Singles, yes. Well, doubles matters more now.
Doubles matters more. Okay. So I see what you're saying, because if it's over, you don't. The number one player might not even matter. Singles.
Correct. So until he changed it, which was right before I got to college, they played all 6 singles first, and many times the match was already over, and so doubles was never played.
Yeah.
Coach, who loves doubles, and I love doubles, so I was happy to see it. He petitioned the NCAA and came up with this format for doubles to be played first. Mm-hmm. Three doubles matches count as 1 point. So you'll hear college players now that when they talk about doubles, they want the doubles point.
They want the point.
2 out of the 3 to get the doubles point.
Okay.
Then you go into the singles, and if you're outgunning singles a little bit, you still have a chance.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it makes for some exciting if the match is 4-3 and there's a comeback if you lose the doubles point and get 4 of the singles, and then it's pretty exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And didn't he also either not invent but push the I formation on the
Yeah, so funny story about that. That was he calls it the switch.
Okay.
Format, and that was my freshman year that we started using that. Mm-hmm. And I wish we could dig up the film from the first few practices of doing it.
Yeah.
It's a crazy format. For no one, I'm sure, listening knows what it is, but it's you basically start your server and your partner at the net are on the same side.
Okay.
And the server, right when he's going into his toss, is going to yell switch. Mm-hmm. And you've already called your signal, so you're at the net. You're either going to cross and stay, or you're going to cross and come back, or you may just get to the center and drop down on one knee and go to more of an Australian formation. Yeah. And so it's very confusing when you're first learning it. And so we were filming it the first couple of times we were running the formation so we could go back and review, see how it worked. And I happened to be paired with one of the fastest servers on the team who had a 140-mile-an-hour cannon. Ooh. And he called switch late, and just in time for me to get in front of him and clock me in the back of the head.
Oh, my gosh.
The ball, we were on the indoors. It hit my head so hard, it bounced up, hit the top of the indoor building, which is 40 feet in the air.
Damn.
And the sound was just very loud. So it sent me down. I hardly remember.
Knocked you down.
The hit. I kind of came to on my knees on the ground. With my teammates laughing at me, and then it became a favorite thing to do before practice for the next few weeks to watch that video.
Oh, that's funny. Well, that's what
so
teammates
provided some
do.
Humor. Yeah.
That's what teammates do. Well, that's one of the interesting. I think it was a good choice, because he was one of the best coaches in history in Division I.
I think he's still the winningest coach in NCAA history.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's at a relatively small school.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool. And when he left Furman, did he go to Citadel College, Charleston? He went down, did something.
So when he retired from Furman, he did, I think, volunteer. So his longtime rival, but someone he highly respects, Chuck Creasy, the Clemson coach.
Right.
Had retired from Clemson, and then he began coaching at Citadel.
Okay.
And then Coach retired and went down. He had a house. I guess they retired to Mount Pleasant area for a while. And next thing I know, Coach is out there helping Creasy at Citadel. I don't think he ever held a official position there.
Well, how lucky those cadets are to have those two guys.
Oh my goodness, those two guys on the court together. It's a lot of.
That's amazing.
A lot of knowledge.
Well, we talk a lot of tennis because Drew is obviously a great tennis player, and I'm an okay tennis player, and we got to play you and your dad in
You're
doubles.
selling yourself short.
We got to play you and your dad a couple of times, and it was a real pleasure to see someone so good. You guys were a great team.
Thank you.
And you have your son now, who's coming up. You're saying you and he are playing father-son doubles now.
Yes, my father has passed the torch on, and so my son James is now my partner, and I'm having to learn and be the father in the father-son team and play that role. So I'm going to my dad and saying, all right, I didn't realize all you were doing out there as a father. I thought I did everything.
Yeah,
but,
that's so funny.
It's fun to transition.
That's funny. Well, I look forward to watching y'all play.
Thank you.
You went to Furman. You had a great career there. What did you major in?
Communications.
Okay. And what was the idea about majoring in communication? What were you thinking?
I had no idea.
Okay.
I chose
Honest man.
it because I went through a process of elimination of what major would allow me to be on the court the most, and I chose communications.
That's good.
And that's not all true. I was interested in that field at
Yeah.
the time, but it did not have labs, and I think 75% of my teammates were doctors, have become doctors. They
Yeah.
were all in labs, and
Yeah.
I don't know how they did it.
I don't either.
I was very focused on tennis at the time and thought, they're crazy. Why would
Yeah.
you be thinking about anything other than playing tennis?
Yeah.
And so I chose communications and ended up loving it. It was a kind of, at the time, we were the first graduating class. I was 2000. I was the first graduating class for communications.
Okay.
So I think some of the professors at the time were still figuring out the major, which was kind of fun because some of the classes were really well done and others were a little bit unorganized. And
Yeah.
as a student, I didn't mind that too much.
Yeah.
But it exposed me to some media, some corporate human resources kind of stuff that I wasn't that interested in.
Yeah.
But it gave me kind of a broad view of business and just being able to communicate. I mean, I was terrified of public speaking. And that was part of the reason, if you really want to get down to it, that was probably the reason I chose it, to hit my fear head on and
Good.
said, hey, this is not something I'm good at, but looks like if I'm in this major, I'm going to have to give a lot of speeches.
Right.
And every class you were giving speeches about something.
Right.
So I went from being terrified to mildly scared of getting up in front of people. And then, of course, what I do now, I speak a lot. So
Yeah.
I can't say that I have not mastered it, but it's and I haven't gotten over the fear, but the fear doesn't stop me.
You do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't freeze me up like it used to.
Yeah. Well, good for you, man. That's good. I don't know anybody who doesn't have a little bit of nervousness about public speaking, but
Well, it's the same way with tennis.
yeah.
I love the nervous feeling before a match. If I don't feel that, then
Right.
probably shouldn't be playing the tournament.
Right. Well, just go hit some.
Yeah.
So I know that when you graduated from Furman, the first thing you did was you were a pro at the Greenville Country Club, right?
Yes, I did that.
For a
Well,
year?
first thing I did was play on the tour for several months, and by that point I was starting to realize that I was good, but I wasn't that good. But I've invested a lot of time in the sport.
Yeah.
I want to get out there and play, so I did that and got around and saw some cool places and
Yeah.
and met some great people. And when I finished that's when I came back
Okay.
and started at the country club.
And so, what tour was that? They call it the Rabbit Tour, or what tour?
It's an ITF pro circuit. So tennis is there's 3 layers to make it to ATP. So
Okay.
you have the Future Circuit, Challenger Circuit, ATP.
Okay.
I was on the Future Circuit.
Okay.
So it'd be equivalent in golf to like the Hooters Tour, if that's even still around.
Yeah.
So one of those lower level
You're
tours.
trying to work up to that, win those tournaments, and go
Yeah.
forward.
But it's where everybody starts, and so you go from playing college tennis to you jump out there and every match is the toughest match you've ever played. But you're on a public court in Lubbock, Texas, and the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour.
Right.
And not one fan within 100 miles of the place. And you go back to your Quality Inn and come back and do it again the next day.
Yeah.
So it's not a glamorous life, but it's gritty and fun. The guys that are out there, one day your practice partner might be an NCAA champion, and the next day is some guy from Germany that can't speak English, and it's a really weird and cool experience at the same time.
How do you handle it if the other player is like cheating? What's your approach?
Cheating is prevalent in tennis, unfortunately. It's not as prevalent as people make it out to be, but there are people that cheat. I think the older I've gotten, the more I'm of the philosophy that there's certainly not as many cheaters as people that just, they want to win so bad that they believe the ball is out.
They see it out.
They see it out.
Yeah.
And so there's certainly guys that do cheat, and everybody knows who they are.
Yeah.
And there's, unfortunately, at the futures level, and you don't have a chair umpire for every match.
Right.
And so there's roaming umpires. Similar to college, you have umpires that will they'll stay on the court for 2 games, and then they're gone. So the player will quit cheating for a couple of games, and then they start again.
Yeah.
There's tactics that you can employ to stop someone from cheating, which if they're really cheating you bad, then if you need to call one of their balls out that's 2 feet in and tell them, if you keep doing it, this is how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And sometimes that settles them down.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
But generally, in those matches, I'm aiming a little bit not as close to the line.
Don't give them the chance.
You can't give them the chance. And
yeah. Well, I'm glad you did it, because you'd always would have wondered, if you wouldn't have gone out there on the tour and tried it.
Yeah, and it opened my eyes. I mean, I realized that. I think so tennis is one of those sports that you're not signing a contract. You don't just get a pro offer and join a team. And you've got to be out there for a period of time just to climb that ladder. And that period of time washes most people out because it costs a lot of money to travel. Yeah. It's a world tour. You're not just traveling around the South.
Yeah.
And so today's dollars, it probably costs a tennis player $80,000 a year just to stay out there.
Right.
And that's not insignificant when you're not making any money.
Right.
I mean, even today, if you win a futures level tournament, you're probably making, $3,000 or $4,000.
Yeah.
And then you're playing pro-ams whenever you can to try to make a little extra pocket money. So my time out there just taught me that anybody can do it. It's just you've got to be willing to put in the time, and you've got to have the resources necessary to keep you out there.
Right.
But it taught me a lot about. I've used that to translate into a career, and it may seem insurmountable if you have a goal of achieving something in whatever career you're in, especially sales, until you realize that you can methodically work your way. Give yourself time.
Yeah.
It's not a get rich quick scheme. Give yourself time and inch by inch.
Yes.
If you stay out there and keep putting in the work, you're going to get there.
Yeah. So when I was in my early 20s in a hurry to be successful, which is not good, I asked my dad, I'm like, I'm not successful yet. What should I do? Or, whatever. So he waited and he thought about it, and he sent me a written letter, which I wish I had. But he goes, I don't know, John. He goes, but I know that these are the 10 people I know in Greenville that are all really successful business people. And he listed what they did and how long it took them to be successful, to like go public, sell their business, whatever it was that made them successful. And the average was 20 years.
That sounds right.
Like, you mean I gotta wait till I'm 40 for this, But I mean, it's such a great message for people.
Yeah.
Is to say, just like you put it, it was so good. It's very doable.
Yeah.
Find something you're pretty good at, you like, good market, Greenville, whatever, and just start working the plan. And it's going to happen when you're 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. I don't know when, but I mean, you're going that way.
Right.
I love that message.
And you can imagine if you or I thought 20 years sounded like a long time, imagine kids coming out of school now.
Right.
That must sound like an eternity.
They won't do it 2 seconds on the phone.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing that is not in there is it's the ride. Is what are you doing in that 20 years?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I remember some of my first sales, and those were exciting. And they were teeny little sales, but I'll tell you about my first sale if it's appropriate right now. But
So did you start after the Greenville Country Club transition thing, where you were a pro while you were kind of figuring it out? Did you start with the development company right off the bat?
So I went to I worked for. Do you remember William McKee? He developed Wade Hampton Golf Course, High Hampton, a lot of the golf courses up in the mountains.
Unfortunately, I don't think I know him, but he was a good one to know.
He was a good tennis player.
Yeah.
He's since passed away. But I went to work for Lloyd Fisher, who owned Fisher Realty in Brevard, who was in one of William McKee's developments.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get some development experience, but really I was in a sales role, and became a licensed real estate agent for the first time, and started selling just mountain lots and homes in that neighborhood. So yeah, I went there with the intention of having more development experience, but ended up in a sales role.
Yeah.
And that wasn't all bad. I was there for a year, and then began talking to Kane Halter here in Greenville. And Kane said, I don't have a place for you yet, but give me 6 months or so. And I think they were at the time building out their space when Coldwell Banker moved into the new Broad Street building, where Elliott Davis was.
Yes.
So I moved into that building when I started with Coldwell Banker Commercial Kane.
Okay.
And Kane became my mentor, and then several guys there really took me under the wing, and I learned the commercial brokerage side of the business.
Okay. Wow, you can't get much better than that.
No, I was very, very lucky to have been introduced to him and then given an opportunity to work under him.
Who introduced you?
It was my mother-in-law who knew, trying to remember her name. She worked for Coldwell Banker. She was a residential agent. She's passed away. I can't remember her name, but she was good friends with Kane.
Yeah.
And made the introduction, and the rest is history.
He was a high school classmate of mine.
Really?
Yes, I could have introduced you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was Greenville would have liked to have seen what he would have done with the extra years had he had them.
Oh yeah, he was an amazing person.
Yeah, he was good. Good football player.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, and pretty good basketball player too.
He was a good all-around athlete.
Yeah, he was good. Played tennis?
Yeah.
A little bit. Well, that's great. So I think that's another smart thing you did. When I met you, you were I guess the first time I met you, you were the pro at the club, tennis pro, and you didn't seem to be in an incredible hurry, right, to go out and do it. But the first move you made was with this really important guy up in Brevard to start to learn the business. You didn't just go get a job somewhere. You got the right job, and then you waited and you got the right job with Kane. And so you learned what you needed to know. So when you're ready to have your own thing, you're good to go, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been taught, surround yourself with good people and surround yourself with the people you want to learn from, and things will happen a lot quicker that way.
Yeah.
Well, nothing happens quick, but you don't take as many wrong turns, I guess.
Yeah. Interesting. So Scarpa was one of the first good choices there.
Yeah, he was the one that encouraged me to take my real estate course.
Huh.
I had my wife Annie. We were dating at the time. She was a year behind me at Furman, and I wanted to figure out a reason to stay in the area and not leave. And
Yeah.
so Coach, he said, you need to sign up for the Wyatt Institute of Real Estate and
Yeah.
go get your license. I said,
Yeah.
Coach, what am I going to do with that? And he convinced me to do it, so I signed up for it and became licensed, and then was able to transfer that to North Carolina. And then in North Carolina at the time, they didn't have any waiting period to become a broker.
Okay.
So when I transferred my license from South Carolina, this loophole has since been closed, but I got licensed here, moved it to North Carolina, jumped into the broker's class with no experience in real estate.
Broker.
Got my broker's license,
Yeah.
and then a year later came back after working with in Brevard, came back to Greenville, started with Kane as a broker here, and didn't have the 5-year waiting period or whatever is required now.
Huh. Wow. And so, how long were you with Kane before you went out on your own?
I want to say 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
Long enough to get experience in just about every asset class.
Mm-hmm.
And then really worked a lot with John Gray, Harry Croxton, 2 great guys. They were developing a lot of retail strip centers at the time.
Yep.
I found that fascinating. I did any grunt work they needed. And then I was assigned to Greengate Office Park to be the leasing broker for the office park. And when I got the assignment, I thought, man, this is amazing. I've gotten this 100,000 square foot or 112,000 square foot listing, and got into it and realized that it was a bunch of just very small office spaces.
Yeah.
And so an average leasing commission there for me was probably $300. And over the years, though, while I may not have enjoyed every minute of it because I was going out there was always turnover.
Yeah.
I was going every single day. It was back and forth to Greengate Office Park. But I did hundreds of leasing transactions,
Yeah.
and it was a great way to cut my teeth on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Get a lot
I
of
don't know any
reps.
other way to get that.
It's like hitting
volume.
balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just meeting that many tenants and learning to kind of pick out the winners from the losers,
Yeah.
and because you get a little bit of everything there. You get some highly successful companies that come in there and want just not Class A space, and then you get a lot of people that aren't above board that are going to be there for a few months and leave.
Right.
And so you get better at reading people, and but just the volume. I mean that took me from point A to B a lot quicker than if I was just doing larger transactions but less of them.
Yeah. Well, that's another good lesson. It's just getting the reps in.
Yes.
Getting the reps. I think that's good in any field, is to get the reps. Even back to public speaking, you know, if you make a lot of, if you get 100 public speeches in, the next one's not going to be that difficult.
That's right.
But the first one, second one, pretty hard.
Yeah, and you learn. I learned with that. Hey, it might be good to prepare for the speech.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something I didn't always want to do. I thought I was one that prided myself on. I don't like to use notes. I just like to speak from the heart.
Right.
That's a terrible idea.
Terrible idea. Yeah. I mean, I've seen people give pretty good speeches reading every line.
Yeah.
But it sounds pretty good, you know, but they're literally reading it, and you know, they can't mess that up too bad. So tell us about, you know, you're doing well in commercial real estate with the best firm in town, the best mentor in town. How do you transition to going out on your own?
So I don't, at the time we were coming up on the recession. I don't think I was exactly ready to make the jump, but it was when Kane passed away, and kind of took the wind out of my sails in that office. It just, I think for a lot of us who were very, very close to him, it felt we were just deflated. And so I thought, let's make a change and go out on my own. So I had everything set up. I was gonna transition into a boutique investment, commercial real estate investment company.
Yeah.
I had some investors at the time, and I thought that sounded like a good idea. The recession in hindsight was looming. But at the time, none of us, I mean, we knew times were really good, and there was talk of it could be too good, but I don't think anyone expected what was about to come.
Yeah.
And so I made the jump right before that, and it became couldn't have been a worse time to do it. But today I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
It was some of the hardest. We were going to have our first child. It was a hard time to be struggling. And I mean, you remember when the recession hit, my plans went out the window. There was no one buying investment real estate at the time, and no one could get a loan.
No.
Saying, man, this is a terrible idea. But I pivoted quickly. I was like, well, I've got a real estate license, so let me look at residential real estate. I think somebody called me just out of the blue, said, hey, we're looking at a house. Can you help us with it? And I said, well, yeah, I'm licensed.
yeah, I can.
let me check my schedule, and I'll clear it. So I went out and showed them a house, and it went well. I actually ended up being there. They wanted me to be their buyer's rep, and so I ended up getting a little commission for it, and that led to being introduced to somebody else. And then I tuned in on no one's buying real estate except for young first-time home buyers. And so I just went on this tear of helping young first-time home buyers because they were the only ones that could qualify for any debt. And we had a lot of pharmacists moving down here. Felt like I did a ton of deals with CVS and Walgreens pharmacists moving down here, and they were all 30 years old and had good salaries and could buy a house. And so did a lot of residential first-time homebuyer transactions, and that's how Parker Group had a residential brokerage division. It just kind of grew out of that because my interest was still in trying to meander back to development. At the time, and that's something we haven't really talked about, but a big part of what I wanted to do in real estate is development, which is what I do now.
Right.
So as the brokerage started growing, and I'd done so many residential sales and really getting to understand the buyer psychology. What are they looking for in the house, in a house? Just the little things that matter. Is there a broom closet in here, or could the design be better? So I thought, well, I can work with an architect, and we can design specifically townhomes that are better than most of what I'm seeing these guys buy.
Right.
To heck with finding listings or buyers. I'm gonna create my own product and sell it.
Right.
So I was able to start with a real small project called West Park and Towns.
So what year was this when you started building on your own?
That was in 2000. We started Park and Towns during the recession, and that's so. It honestly it was a bust. We built the first building in 2008, I think, and I had the launch party and no buyers. So ended up selling my townhome that I was living in, newly married, and my wife and I moved over to one of the units at West Park and Towns, one of the two, and then we leased out the other to pharmacists. And made good money on the rental and able to weather the storm living there. So the joke about Park and Towns is it's one of the smallest developments we've done, but it took me 10 years to complete 6 units. And I did other projects in the meantime as we came out of the recession, but by the time we got back to West Park and Towns and finished it, it took, I think, a total of 10 years.
And so you're rolling along now, you're building your own townhomes and selling them. And then did you do a lot of that before you started doing like the commons and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, well, projects take a long time, and I'm still only 46, so it's not like I've got hundreds of projects under my belt. But we've done probably over 100 townhomes downtown at this point. The Commons came along in 2016, 2017, around there. A friend of mine owned a couple of the buildings, and he wasn't really looking to sell, but I approached him the right day when he thought maybe it would be a good idea to sell it.
Yeah.
And bought 2 buildings, and then we've added several more buildings over the years. And now it's close to 100,000 square feet and over 30 tenants in there.
Wow.
So
yeah, I think everyone who's from Greenville watching knows where the Commons is, but it's a strip of buildings along the Reedy River.
in Unity Park.
In Cross Community Park, right?
Yeah.
And it's got a food court in there with different kinds of food.
And most people know it for that reason. There's we just added 7 more, so we have 12 food tenants in there that make up the food hall.
Yeah.
But we've also got some really high quality, great people there, and as office tenants that are part of the project as well.
Well, that's a great one. Now, so you've done over 100 townhomes downtown Greenville. You've got the Commons, which is a really cool hangout. What else, or what are you working on?
I love adaptive reuse. That's kind of another focus of what we do, finding underutilized buildings. So there's an old Rite Aid in the center of Malden, South Carolina. We converted it into a retail restaurant development called Maverick Station. Next to that, we're about to start what we're calling the Pickle Yard, which is a conversion of a 25,000 square foot former City Public Works metal warehouse building into 8 indoor pickleball courts, restaurant, bar, plenty of outdoor space for families to hang out. Next to that,
Pickle Yard?
Pickle Yard.
That's a great name.
Yeah.
Love it.
Next to that would be 42 for rent townhomes.
Okay.
That we're partnered with Long Branch Development to do those.
Great. So this is a big development.
Pretty big.
The biggest one you've done, right?
Well, I think the Commons is probably the biggest, but that's taken a long time. The one in Malden is going to be Maverick. We're calling it Maverick Yards. Mm-hmm. When it's all said and done, it's a pretty big deal.
Okay. Now, why is it called Maverick Yards?
That was the play on the Malden Mavericks.
Okay.
And then we're creating a lot of yard space for people to come together. And
I got you. So the Malden team is called the Mavericks?
The Mavericks, yeah.
Okay. All right. I was thinking Goose and Maverick.
Yeah.
So are you still doing townhomes?
We are.
You are?
We've got downtown right now, we've got close to 80 townhomes about to go under construction.
Jeez. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, that you picked a good career for yourself, and you've had some good mentors, and when you started out on your own, it was hard, and you just didn't give up, and you figured out a path forward, and now you're starting to, I wouldn't say it's easy, but you have a process now you can follow.
Yeah.
To success.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's finally. I don't think it'll ever be easy, especially in the sales and development world. I don't think there's not always a place. Everyone should get into their niche, I guess is what I'm saying, because even in your niche, I feel like I'm dealing with the unknowns on every project or every sale. There's not really a standard way of doing it. You got to do it the way that works for you.
Yeah, but I would contend that it is easier for you to do a townhouse in downtown Greenville than it would be to do a full house in Scranton, Ohio.
Yeah.
Or Scranton, Pennsylvania, wherever it is. I mean, different laws, different subcontractors. So you're sticking to that that thing you know.
Yeah, I've been fortunate in what I do. I'm in a pretty small sandbox, and it definitely can expedite the process. I can't imagine jumping out of this sandbox and going and doing it in Scranton, Ohio, or any other market.
Wherever Scranton is.
Yeah, wherever that is.
How about social media? How are you using social media?
So Parker Group, the residential division, we used it to market to market lists. It was very necessary. Anyone who did business with us, especially if you listed a home with us, the expectation was we were on social media. We would, especially at the time, Instagram.
Yep.
So it was heavily used.
Okay.
And very effective. I think we had to learn how it was effective and how you could use it to the best advantage. But that took some time. I guess the old days everybody's still figuring it out, and I'm fairly ignorant though when it comes to that. I had a good social media team that helped us with getting our listings out there, or the messaging we wanted to get out to the public.
Well, if you're not doing much yourself, you're in good shape. It's you got better use of your time than scrolling around the internet.
Yeah, I see the value. I don't use it for development to a large degree, but 100% on the sales side, it's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there, and you've got to utilize it because your competitors are.
Well, hopefully you'll let someone show you this video when it comes out.
Of course.
On LinkedIn or something. Well, let me ask you a couple more questions. What's your favorite all-time book?
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is that one book or several books?
Several books.
Okay.
Yeah.
You love that.
I love it.
Do you believe one man wrote all that stuff?
It's unbelievable.
How about the movies? Do you watch those?
I've watched them, but of course I'm disappointed with the movie.
The book's better.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm a big reader. I will always choose the book over the movie.
Good. Are you reading real books or are you reading the iPad?
I don't have an iPad. I read books.
Books.
Yeah.
You're a throwback, man. Probably use a wood racket.
I have one. It's good for training.
Wood racket, yeah. Makes you hit the ball square, doesn't it?
You have to hit it right in the center.
All right, what's your favorite word?
Courage.
Courage. Wonderful. And favorite band?
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam, PJ. I love it. Well, is there anything else that you want to promote today, or any way if they're looking for townhomes downtown? What would they go to? ParkerGroup.com or
ParkerGroupServices.com. You can see some of the projects we've done and what we're working on.
Yep.
We're just in the middle of a website refresh, so everything's not on there yet. But I would say that we nothing to really promote, but I like to think we're a fairly established brand and someone that can be trusted. So if you are looking for a great place to live downtown Greenville, we likely have something under construction right now. So
the ParkerGroupServices.com.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here. I'm proud of you. Kane would be proud of you.
Thank you.
And maybe you come back in about a year and give us an update on everything.
That'd be fun.
All right.
Let's
Thank you,
plan on it.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
John.
Okay.